Hi guys, my name's Sam. This will be my audition for the U.S. Ghost Tours in Cincinnati. Alright, here I go. Welcome to the most haunted house in the eastern United States, the Peyton Randolph House. Since the home's construction in 1715, dozens of men, women, and children have died either in or next to the home, and many of them remain to haunt the house to this very day. This resulted in the Randolph House being featured by USA Today as one of the most haunted houses in the United States. To share some of the history of this house, it was originally purchased in 1721 by Sir John Randolph, the only colonial Virginian to receive knighthood, who then later purchased the eastern lot in 1724. After the death of Sir John Randolph, the home was willed to one of his sons, Peyton Randolph. Peyton was one of our founding fathers and served as president of the First and Second Continental Congress, and he's also cousin to Thomas Jefferson. The house's troubles seemingly initiated with the outbreak of the Revolutionary War. The governor of Williamsburg at the time, Lord Dunmore, made the proclamation that any slave that abandoned his rebellious owners and aided the British Army would gain freedom at the end of the war. Some of Randolph's slaves did so, actually, including Mrs. Randolph's personal slave, Eve. When the war ended, these runaway slaves were unfortunately returned to their owners, and Eve was treated terribly by Mrs. Randolph. She was then sold upon Mrs. Randolph's death, forever separating her from her son. These intense traumas are what caused these ghosts to linger around us, magnifying the hauntings of the home. So from that day on, the house suffered from bad fortune. Terrible acts began to occur at a suspiciously high rate. 2 men shot each other in a fight that was out of both either man's nature. 2 young children died from falling, just years apart, and a Civil War veteran passed away mysteriously within the house. In fact, the earliest report of ghostly happenings is from a written account of the Marquis de Lafayette himself. In 1824, he went on a grand tour through the states to speak with veterans of the war. While in Williamsburg, he stayed at the Peyton Randolph House. Out of all the places he stayed at in the United States, he considered this one the most haunted. In 1824, Lafayette wrote about his experience in the home and went as follows. I consider myself fortunate to lodge in the home of a great man, Peyton Randolph. Upon my arrival, as I entered through the foyer, I felt a hand on my shoulder. It nudged me as if intending to keep me from entering. I quickly turned, but found no one there. The nights were not restful, as the sounds of voices kept me awake for most of my stay. Far more recently, in the 1960s, the house served as an overflow dorm for students of William and Mary. A young man was reported feeling a light tugging on his arm as he slept, at first believing himself to be dreaming. That hopeful belief was dashed as the bed suddenly began to shake violently, and he stood up out of the bed to find the room empty. The students fled from the house, refusing to return for their belongings. The next story is of a local security guard who was just minding his business on the job. One day, when he was in the house's basement, the whole of the house filled with a loud, otherworldly roar. He began to flee, but he found some invisible presence gripping him by the ankles, anchoring him to the ground. The guard desperately radioed in for help, and 10 minutes later it arrived. They found the door wedged closed, and it had to be forced open, an action that immediately released the original guard from his traps. The story is used as a warning during training for what guards can expect when dealing with the Randolph House.
See what's on that one.
Thanks guys, thanks for listening.